So, what's wrong with him, Doc? Oh my god, is it that bad? So, it isn't that bad. So, you can fix this? Payday 3 can survive and thrive? Oh, Payday 3. What did you do? So, it's been a while. My apologies for failing to keep up the yearly streak of, going for these yearly roundup videos. I had a certain ball of change preventing me this time around. Anyways, as you now hopefully know, this is now my 4th video on Payday 3 dating back to the beta. And although a lot has changed since those videos came out, I'd still recommend watching those first if you haven't yet, as I'll be referring to them a lot in this video, and I really like them, okay? But despite there being a whole 18-month wait between my year 1 and year 2 videos, development for Payday 3 has definitely slowed down a bit. I wonder why. Not to say that 3's hasn't done anything, because as of writing this in the middle of June 2026, there's been 5 new heists, 5 new guns, 3 new overkill weapons, 1 new heister, 1 new throwable, and entire reworks and overhauls of the overkill system, armor system, and skill system, which included nuking the entire old skill system and replacing it with a new one. I hope no one minds if I just... We'll make it better, I swear. But before we do, I of course have to ask that if you enjoyed this video, for you to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Especially now that I'm free of that accursed project. Upload should be a lot more consistent now, as I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so any support would be greatly appreciated. Self-promotion aside, as is now customary in this series, let's see how the thrilling story of Payday 3 has continued since we last left off.
There's nothing.
Thank you, son.
Okay, I'm only half joking. The only semblance of story progression has been some side hustles that take place after the events of the First World Bank Legacy Heist. All that you really have to know is that when we robbed the First World Bank, again, we pissed off a mob family known as the Palatucci's, who were using the First World Bank in a money laundering operation. In retaliation, the Palatucci's had some of their corrupt cops raid one of Sheiyu's warehouses, with Sheiyu now offering the Payday gang a handsome reward for re-securing her now lost merchandise, setting the stage for the first paid DLC heist of 2025. Party Powder. Set in an active crime scene, Party Powder is an open-ended side job that I'm honestly a massive fan of. Your objective here is very simple and both loud and stealth. Breach up to 3 warehouses and steal anything of value. This objective thankfully being the best kind in Payday of being open-ended, meaning that you're just dropped in and a total steal shit. No linear progression needed. In stealth, contraband can be found lying in locked storage containers and the warehouses itself. Access requiring either QR codes or a red keycard, with these items being found with phones left around the map for QR codes and on the backs of patrolling guards. And once you gain these items, find your way in any of the 3 warehouses, crack open containers, find codes for locked gates, and even find ingredients to cook meth using the formula found in either the left or right warehouse for an even greater payout. And for going loud, your objective is exactly the same, though of course with you now needing to drill and thermite your way into the warehouses with hordes of cops firing at you. Overall, I actually really like Party Powder, especially on stealth. These open-ended heists are an absolute treat for stealth heads like myself. Just using one of the many openings to wrap myself through, slowly unlocking more and more of each warehouse, throw some verticality in there, whew! Heater of a stealth heist. Loud isn't half bad either, but with the general problems of Payday 3 Loud still not being fully addressed, it leads to our first new interest of the renovated Payday 3 tier list to be an easy high A tier, the closest this game has ever gotten to a proper shadow raid. But before we get to our next heist with a link to the story, 3's actually released 2 free heists in June 2025, these being of a brand new heist game mode. Smash and Grab. These heists are meant to be entryways for newcomers to Payday 3 and its mechanics, currently offering 2 heists in bank withdrawal and search and seizure, or basically no rest for the wicked and Boys in Blue on a much smaller scale. Both can be done in either stealth or loud, and can be completed pretty quickly as the game mode name implies, with search and seizure differing the most compared to its original heist, with us needing to find contraband hidden inside impounded cars. Regardless, both of these heists land in low C tier. They're both pretty harmless quick fun and can be used as a decent entryway into Payday 3. There's nothing really special about them, but with search and seizure having a somewhat unique objective compared to bank withdrawal, it gets a slight nod over it. Getting back to this side hustle story, we follow up after the events of Party Powder, where the Palatucci family has now placed a hit on the Payday gang. So, in retaliation, we strike back in the second paid DLC heist of 2025, Delivery Charge. This heist sees us target an armored transport depot owned by our old friends in Gensec, where, hidden inside the depot, is the illicit cash that Palatucci's have been using to fuel their operations. And like Party Powder, Delivery Charge is also very similar to my beloved Shadow Raid, offering some actual replayability through a somewhat impressive amount of variations between each run of the heist. As even though the main objective for both Loud and Stealth are the same, with us just stealing a ton of cash from either the warehouse itself or the various armored transports stored within, Starbreeze really tried to make each run a Delivery Charge just a little different. Everything from certain vantage and traversal points being altered, randomized loud escapes, some cashbacks having die packs like in No Rest for the Wicked, randomized sewer grades that count as loot drop-off points, and of course the bountiful changes that occur when playing on a harder difficulty. These variations are very welcome in my books, not even mentioning how fundamentally different the heist plays when favors are involved. But that's a whole discussion I'll be having later in the video. Overall, Delivery Charge is another solid DLC heist. Once again, especially on Stealth. These open-ended heists where your job is to scour an open area for loot is already my favorite kind of heist in the series. So throw some verticality like we saw in Party Powder, the neat variation and vault like in Shadow Raid, some fun vent shenanigans, and non-linear heist progression, easiest A tier of my life. Though, as I'll go over once I cover the various problems still present in the game, I'll go over why Delivery Charge isn't worthy of being an S tier heist. With our successful exploits in Delivery Charge, nearly the entire Palatucci family is calling for a truce with the Payday gang. All but one member, Pietro Palatucci. This guy seems stubborn on taking the Payday gang head on, so in order to basically twist his arm to sign the truce, our next job targets Pietro specifically, being to hit Pietro's own shopping mall in Shopping Spree. Despite being the only DLC heist so far in 2026, it follows the trend of the other DLC heists in offering a decent amount of variation in each run. This variation comes in which of the 3 mall stores that Pietro is using in his illegal operations we will be targeting, whether it be stealing rifles from the Corval gun shop, cocaine in the storage room of the Nobleman Lounge, or meth hidden inside the cotton innards of the Moon U store. And to know which of these we'll be hitting, we must first access Pietro's office to pinpoint which of the 3 to head to. In Stealth, each of these 3 stores have their own unique ways to access their hidden goods, with us needing to disable metal detectors, use an employee for an iris scanner, QR codes, and even fingerprints to breach into the private areas of our assigned store. And all these objectives aren't even considering the fact that you have the option to not even do them, as if you want to commit doing the stealth heist masked, you can just sneak into the vent of each store, disable some fans in a little vent maze, and like that, you basically skip half of said objective. Regardless of what you decide on doing, just do a straight ass for each store, being as simple as finding a code in a safe to ripping apart every box and Teddy Moo plush you see to complete your objective. And once you have your goods, quietly stash them in a nearby chute and make your escape. And Loud, you once again have the same objective, though with a lot more brute force, of course. The main variations in Loud come from the slightly different breaching methods and your eventual escape, either by filling up the show car in the lobby or having Best Boy Bio drop by with a loot cage to escape. Overall, the final newest DLC heist is a pretty fun one on both sides of the game, though with this heist offering a lot less replayability and with it being pretty small overall. It bumps down the only DLC heist of 2026 to a respectable B tier. And those are the 5 new heists added to Payday 3, and honestly, excluding the non-DLC heist, I really like the direction Starbreeze has taken with their heist design, for stealth at least. These open-ended, non-linear heists with tons of variability are the exact heists I loved playing in Payday 2. But I understand that on the loud side of things, these new heists aren't anything to really be excited about. As with the objectives being exactly the same for both loud and stealth, this has led to the exact same problems I said in my year 1 review, with these loud heists just being unmemorable. There's no wow factor or overarching difference between loud or stealth besides basic drills and thermite. Not to mention that the only 3 things we've been stealing have been cash, cocaine, and meth, over and over again. There's no central unique loot to steal in any of these heists. It's basically just loot that in Payday 2 would be seen as an extra reward, now being the main objective. And although that does make it a lot like Shadow Raid, I mean, that heist did have the samurai armor and very diverse loot tables. But I don't want to get ahead of myself with another Starbreeze rant. Yet. As there's been a lot more new additions to Payday 3 than just these heists. As with new heists, we of course need new guns to blast cops with. With the release of Party Powder, the Payday 2 fan favorite and the judge returned under a new name. The Justicar? The Justicar? Whatever. The Justice AR. The Justicar is the shotgun revolver secondary that was easily my go-to weapon in Payday 2 Stealth. As with Payday 2 Stealth being janky as hell, being able to blast guards in the safe areas to pager them, or to just blast them to the ocean, was unmatched. And in Payday 3, to be honest, it mostly just isn't that useful because there haven't been too many ocean opportunities, body bags being replaced by just picking up a guard, and it can't blast guards that far anyways. It is, however, pretty damn solid and loud. It personally has been my go-to when running a marksman or assault rifle build. Just running around and blasting any cop you run into is easily this thing's biggest strength, especially with how much it staggers cops if one shot isn't enough. So despite how solid it is on loud, with the biggest utility this gun had in Payday 2 Stealth being practically non-existent, this fan favorite drops to A tier. The other free weapon to come out in 2025 came out alongside the release of the Smash and Grab heist, being a vintage marksman rifle, the Spearfish 1895. This gun is kind of intended to be a middle ground between the Rhinefield 900S and the SA, being a bolt-action rifle that's best used at close to medium range. Though, unfortunately, even though vintage weapons usually go crazy in Payday games, the Spearfish is just kind of a massive disappointment. Now granted, I haven't used this gun too much, but for a bolt-action rifle, this gun feels pitiful in the damage compartment, as this thing basically demands headshots to do any damage, which sounds like a given for a marksman rifle. But with this gun having a max capacity of 9 rounds and it being bolt action, you're better off using literally any other marksman rifle. Seriously. The only way this gun can kinda work is medium range quickscoping lower armored cops, but if you really want to do that, the SA is right there. Hell, even to fake out a major power boost with the new skill system. Seriously, what purpose does this gun really serve? Maybe there's something I'm missing in my attachments or my marksman build, but this thing is kind of abysmal dog shit even when comparing it to the 900S. Easily low D tier. And for the longest time, those are really the only new weapons for us heisters to mess around with for about 10 months. As in May of this year, we were finally given our first paid weapons DLC in the Swedish weapon pack, offering a primary, secondary, overkill weapon, and throwable straight from IKEA land. The first of these weapons is the Skogskrigger AG9 is an assault rifle best described by the devs themselves. A perfect balance between the Car 4 and KU. This gun just feels good. Good recoil, good damage and penetration, handles dozers decently well with a lot to customize. Pretty easy high A tier. I honestly even prefer this gun over the KU. And to complement this primary comes Payday 3's most unique secondary in the Russell JB9. The first secondary classified as an SMG. Packed with a lot of ammo and a great rate of fire, the JB9 is easily my favorite gun from this pack. Super fun to use and easily has become my go-to sidearm for basically every single build. Low S tier. The other gun added in the 2026 May update was actually a free addition, this being the brand new LMG, the Zocas 17. This is a pretty solid LMG with great damage and a decent rate of fire. The handling on this thing is pretty good and the reload on this LMG is shockingly fast. My main issue with this gun comes from shooting cops at long range, especially snipers, and the fact that this thing struggles against dozers due to its more modest rate of fire. Even when running an LMG build, still pretty decent, especially with it being a free addition. Low B tier. And lastly, the throwable added with this weapon pack is the... God damn it. SPELUNKY S18. This is a frag grenade with a unique feature of popping up into the air before detonating. Kinda like a bouncing Betty from World at War. When paired with the new frag grenade skill tree we'll talk about later, this has a shocking amount of destruction power for both your enemies and yourself. Maybe if there is a way to take no self damage, this would be ranked even higher, but with this constantly shredding my armor, the SPELUNKY can't go any higher than high A tier. And that was all the new regular weapons like I said, but this weapon pack also introduced an entirely new Overkill weapon. But before we go into it, I do have to mention the new Overkill weapon system and drone system introduced. In May of 2025, the old system of how Overkill weapons were delivered was finally reworked, where instead of biologists dropping the weapon nearby, a drone is instead dispatched to the location of when you first requested your Overkill weapon. Honestly, a massive improvement, especially on higher difficulties where you don't need to run halfway across the map just to get your Overkill weapon. The other major change has to do with the reworked Overkill system, or Overskill as it was called. As shortly after I released my year 1 video, we were given some buffs to the Overkill weapon system in the form of level ups that granted direct upgrades to each Overkill weapon. However, this system is pretty underwhelming and like I said, it only offered direct upgrades to the Overkill weapons. So in May of this year, an entirely different system is now in place. Overkill weapon mods, which is also pretty underwhelming. All this new system does is allow for different perks to be selected for each Overkill weapon, offering some variety, but as of right now, our options are pretty limited. Though I have to say, this new system has a lot of potential. Hear me out. You see, for the longest time, I was wondering why Payday 3 builds felt so hollow compared to the ones we can make in Payday 2, with me coming to the obvious conclusion. Perk decks. These allowed for the wildly different and fun builds we all use in Payday 2, synergizing and stacking with the builds we selected to make some truly wacky stuff. And Payday 3 just lacks that. And this is where this new system can come in. Why not have perk decks be our chosen Overkill weapon? Think about it, there's already some pretty cool mods. Cluster bombs for the Mamba, extra penetration for the Red Fox, crazy damage resistance for the Arges. Why not have the ability to get passive buffs just for equipping the weapon? Have them stack with our skills for even more build variety. The closest the current system comes to what I would want is the brand new Overkill weapon, the Karl Alfred M606. This is a straight up
rocket launcher,
but easily has the most custom ability out of any Overkill weapon, as you can actually switch out the ammo this thing fires, the default being your classic explosion, a heat round for penetration that one-shots dozers, and even a smoke round, giving synergy if you're also running a smoke build. This diversity alone grants the M606 easy passage to S tier. Any weapon that can one-shot dozers is a friend of mine. And this is the kind of love I think each Overkill weapon should have. Add in more diverse mods, some passives like I said, and different ammo types when appropriate. And this somewhat barebone system can actually turn into one of Payday 3's biggest strengths. And if you're worried that this might spike your power too high, maybe have some optional modifiers for bigger rewards or even a higher difficulty past Overkill. But I know I'm still being too optimistic. Knowing Starbreeze, this cool idea on paper will be neglected and reworked again a year from now. Anyways, this rocket launcher wasn't the only Overkill weapon added, as on February 3rd, 2025, my prayers were answered. Not only did Jacket return to the Payday franchise, he brought a whole Overkill weapon with him. But also a new voice? I guess that line for him at the end of Payday 2 wasn't real? With Jacket once again relying on a much larger selection of voice tapes for his lines. I don't mind most of these, but I do miss his old voice tapes. Though maybe it was a good idea to have this instead of like an AI or even a TTS voice for a jacket.
What's your status, over?
I'm over here stroking my dick. I got lotion on my—
The Overkill weapon that came with Jacket's character being Sociopath, named after the meme of a perk deck in Payday 2 of the same name, where, interestingly enough, Sociopath doesn't need the new drone to come in and drop off the weapon. Activating Sociopath just has you pull out a baseball bat and allows you to instantly start bashing cops. You have greatly increased speed and damage resistance during this, encouraging players to string together kills by having the length of Sociopath be increased for every cop you whack. I'm honestly a massive fan of this Overkill weapon. Not only just because me like HOTLINE Miami, but it's just great to be able to have this massive increased speed and damage resistance whenever you want. If you're pinned in a corner and need to get the hell out of there, bringing out the bat is the perfect way to push back the cops or reposition yourself to a safer area. You do drop all bags when bringing this out though, unfortunately. But even with this minor negative, Sociopath lands in solid A tier. Go play HOTLINE Miami. The other Overkill weapon that came out at the same time was Interceptor, the only Overkill weapon designed for stealth. When charged, you can activate this during a stealth heist to temporarily shut down all cameras in the map, being similar to Pocket ECMs and the Hacker skill deck of Payday 2. You can even upgrade this to delay all pagers and radios. Really, it's the closest thing we have to an ECM rush. Though, I'm sure that when playing with other people, popping this in coordination with actual players probably feels good as hell. Still can't convince my friends to play this game again though. You wanna play Payday 3?
No.
A tier by default. And with that, now that everything new has been ranked, we can finally put the rest of the OG guns and heists back in the tier list, with some minor corrections as over time my opinion has changed a bit. And like I said earlier, Overkill weapons weren't the only systems overhauled, as something I mentioned in my year 1 review was the elusive Armor 2.0 update, where just a few months after my year 1 video, we finally got an overhaul to this weak mechanic alongside the release of Party Powder. And honestly, Armor 2.0 kind of did live up to the hype, giving players exactly what we've been asking for. Options. Armor 2.0 now lets you customize each plate in your chosen armor set, with 3 different plates being able to be chosen for each individual plate. And as to not overwhelm you with overloaded jargon, the plates are basically asking you whether or not you want Payday 2's or Payday 3's approach to armor. Resistant plates are what was given to us at the start of Payday 3. So dog shit. Adaptive plates was the only other armor set given to us, which allows your armor plate to be restored as long as the full plate doesn't break. And lastly, my beloved impact plate. Payday 2 armor is back, baby! But thankfully, Starbreeze actually gave some reason to even consider Payday 3 armor, as both adaptive and impact plates give you 1 permanent less down, and impact plates can take quite a while to fully restore for your more chunky armor sets. With these drawbacks and with each armor set giving you a different passive, makes Payday 3's armor system vastly superior to Payday 2's. Honestly, W update on the end of Starbreeze here. I didn't think they could do it. They even added more frames to mess around with in the June 2026 update, giving players even more options to fit their preferred playstyle. Actual good Payday 3 additions? What? And that hasn't been the only overhaul or tweak to the game itself, as despite the total amount of new guns and heists being lackluster in years 2 and 3, Starbreeze has slowly been fixing and fine-tuning many aspects of Payday 3. Everything from tweaking how gunplay feels, new animations, finally deleting the Wi-Fi circles objective, lockpicking and cracking safes feels a lot smoother now, health bars, damage numbers, enemy snipers are actually worrisome to go against on higher difficulties, great reworks of Touch of Sky and Turbid Station, which even includes being able to do the heist on loud, contracts or small questlines that are rewarded with cosmetics, fat cops, and massive improvements to the UI and new player onboarding, with the June 2026 update giving us a new tutorial and helping new players ease into the new systems of Payday 3 with crime bonds, letting players know what to spec into if they already know what kind of playstyle they want. But these changes are all small fry to what really bugs the game, with Starbreeze attempting to address what was a major complaint of mine in my previous videos, with the lackluster skill system. Not that I completely hated it, but it just felt a bit off. It did allow for a lot of really funny and interesting builds like my beloved Gunslinger build, but I think everyone can agree that Starbreeze did the right thing and took the edge, grit, and rush system out back, instead replacing it with what is now called Skills 2.0. With a maximum of 51 skill points at level 150, Skills 2.0 brings back the classic tree upgrade system like in Payday 2, with Skills 2.0 focusing on more archetype style play, with each tree focused either on a weapon type, throwable, deployable, or playstyle. And on paper, this looks pretty damn good. Way cleaner than what we had before, and giving the player a ton of options for what they want their playstyle to be. Unfortunately, this overhaul has one glaring problem that just pisses me off in all the wrong ways. Segregation. Well, not that type of segregation. As when I was looking to Skills 2.0 for the first time, I had some really fun builds on paper that I really wanted to try out, just to learn that skills like Ricochet, Ammo Funnel, and On the Run are all tied behind completely different weapon types. The decision to tie behind these powerful and cool skills / abilities to a type of gun is baffling to me. This narrows down potential builds so much. As yeah, sure, even though some Payday 2 skill trees were tied to a specific weapon or even firing type, these trees had at least something worth investing in regardless of the build you were running. Like yeah, sure, even though my Anarchist build is made for being hella tanky, I also take some basic movement skills from the dodge skill tree. My stealth build doesn't even touch anything close to sentries, but I'd like to run both ECMs and body bags, so Jack of all trades is right up my alley. The Payday 3 skill tree has almost none of this. Oh, what's that? You want to replicate your really fun gunslinger build with the Mosconi? Well, sorry, sweetie. Ammo Funnel is for assault rifles and LMGs only. Oh, and that other skill that made your old build work, Return Policy. Yeah, sorry. Marksman rifles only. Looks like you have to take your shotgun to its designated section. Oh, don't like that. Are you upset? Oh, well, sorry, dear player. We're Starbreeze, and Starbreeze knows best. Of course, we'll say we're offering players more variety and build expression, and then somehow make a system more limiting than Skills 1.0. How? I don't like Skills 2.0 if you couldn't tell. And this extends beyond just how segregated builds are now. 51 skill points just doesn't feel like it's enough, as even though I like trade-offs for these kind of skill trees, when you only have 51 skill points to spec into 2 weapon types, your deployable, your throwable, and your tool, and something will be left out with how segregated and specific these trees are. But despite how much I'm whining right now, this skill system isn't all bad, as there are some small synergies that are really fun to play with. Ace Pain Tolerance and Hidden Blade being a funny combo, where as long as you have throwing knives, you can one-shot any cop that isn't a dozer and get adrenaline. Dodge builds make a full return, which now gives smoke grenades something to synergize with. Sentry guns and shot grenades make a fun combo, I guess. Bounty hunter builds go insanely hard and work so well with flash grenades and ECMs. Like, there's a lot of potential with these skills. Just please, Starbreeze, take away or at least limit the weapon type requirements for a lot of these skills. Why limit multitasker to only SMGs? Why not have more skills like utility build, consumerism, or scavenger, so you can give me a reason to consider other skill trees outside of my weapon and build type. This can work, but until skills like Ammo Funnel or On the Run can work with other weapon types, Skills 2.0 will always be just a bit disappointing. And if you're wondering where I'd place Skills 2.0 on a new tier list, well, I'm not putting individual skills this time. That was really stupid of me. Instead, I'll quickly rank each skill tree as a whole in a lightning round. Let's go! Juggernaut, the dedicated armor bag tree. Despite the usefulness of the armor bag taking a hit with Armor 2.0 being a thing, headguard and being able to carry 2 bags is a must for any of my builds, and fashion is pretty neat for playing solo. Low S tier. Commando. Fuck this stupid fucking. Why can't I use Ammo Funnel for other build? I guess assault rifles and LMGs are pretty cool. B tier. Grenadier. Bombs are pretty funny, but self-damage sucks, and this is a durable skill tree. Though with Scavenger being in here, it instantly bumps us up to high B tier. Ghost. Dodge builds are cool, Judo Chop and Locksmith are funny, would be S tier if On the Run wasn't limited to SMGs. A tier. Special Ops, way more neat and interesting skills than in Commando. A tier. Fog Machine, smoke grenades are actually pretty decent now, but with this needing a dodge build to unlock its full potential, C tier. Engineer, F tier, I don't use sentry guns in Payday. Shotgunner, just direct buffs to shotguns. Nothing really too fancy. Do more damage up close, reload faster, the usual. B tier. Electrician, shot grenades are cool, but with the chance to hit yourself with it, and with this needing other skill trees to be at all renewable, low C tier. Black Hat, the main stealth tree with some ECM usage, instant S tier. Hitman, if you fully commit to this with appropriate tools and throwable, it is really fun. High A tier. Flashpoint, I'm biased towards flash grenades and it easily mods shot grenades, B tier. Imposter, makes unmaxed stealth heists way easier and makes adrenaline builds possible, easy high A tier. Pill Pusher, the dedicated medic bag tree. Health Guru alone makes this an easy S tier, with armor bags no longer being king. Cutthroat, honestly, throwing knives still suck and loud, but Hidden Blade is so fun, it carries this a C tier. Puppet Master, using this on higher difficulties and coordinating with friends is incredibly powerful, low S tier. Longshot, most marksman rifles still suck with this besides ESA and FIC, high C tier. And lastly, Ammo Specialist. Ammo bags are still mocked by most deployables, but some guns need it to be useful, and the existence of utility build carries this, B tier. Whew, that was a lot of new shit to talk about. Some good, some bad, and a lot mixed. But now we get to the fun part of these videos, the slow degradation of my mind year by year, as we can now finally talk about the many, many problems still littered within Payday 3. Where to even begin this time? I could try a new topic to complain about, but it's basically tradition at this point in my videos to complain about the lack of a certain special game mechanic that Payday 2 had that still hasn't made its way into Payday 3. Which is really ironic, as Starbreeze has called Payday 3 the definitive heisting experience. Despite the fact that we're almost 3 years since launch and we still have this whack-ass pre-planning mechanic. Look, I'd be so down to go on another long-winded rant about how much this game needs pre-planning, but I'd just be beating a dead horse by this point, as I'm really still baffled that Starbreeze seemingly has no plan to change this underwhelming mechanic. Like, they still go through the effort of introducing these super interesting and fun favors for each new heist, different escape options, entry points, unique loot, you name it. Which I find really funny, because as much as all the new DLC heists are basically Shadow Raid clones, they all forget the two key things that make Shadow Raid so beloved: a massively diverse loot pool and pre-planning. And I'm just gonna stop myself here, before this goes on for like another page. I'm literally just a broken record at this point. Please, Starbreeze, I think I'm actively going through this 5 stages of grief. I'm almost at stage 4! Well, I guess there are some other problems that are still persistent. Let's see, weapon modding is still lackluster compared to Payday 2, playing Payday 3 solo remains miserable, still no offline mode, no optional modifiers for added difficulty or bonus rewards, servers are still wonky, and the new heists haven't fixed the underlying problems of Payday 3's loud heist design. Really, as I said in my year 1 video, loud heists don't really have much going for them. It really feels like the largest skill we've had so far was Fear and Greed, and even then, both loud and stealth played exactly the same. And look, I'm a big stealth guy. Even with no pre-planning, these new stealth heists are pretty damn good. Tons of fun design, decently challenging on harder difficulties, good variation and randomization for each run, some good stuff. But I know the majority of people who play Payday prefer going loud. And as much as I love being catered towards, you gotta give something for the loud players. Maybe it's because these heists are like side jobs lore-wise, but why is every main loud objective so bland? Like in stealth, we've been given interesting map designs to sneak around, open-ended objectives with good randomization, and just fun ways to mess around with the game's stealth mechanics. Wild and loud, it's still the same old Dermite and basic drill. Like, I'm pretty sure the most interesting vault cracking method in all these new heists has been the plasma cutter for a shopping spree, and even that's randomized. It also doesn't help with the scale and locations for these heists being really cool for stealth, but painfully mundane for loud. As like I said earlier, all of this is way worse when you also realize that our main objectives in these heists just involve stealing the same old loot we've been robbing. As much as I appreciate that everything is shadow right now, shouldn't these bags be an optional side objective while we're after something else? I mean, stealing a political rival is right there for shopping spree. Why is this a favor? It's so much more in the Payday spirit to heist a literal person than just money and illicit substances. Thankfully, you can currently just buy these favors from the shop instead of having to gamble for them. But if you're playing solo, you can only pick one favor per person. Ideally, the next heist can take off everything in my personal checklist of being a new or interesting place to heist, completely unique pathways for both loud and stealth, and the heist having at least some scale to it that isn't an unfinished mall or random warehouse. And hell, if Starbreeze feels that constrained by adding stealth, I really wouldn't mind to see an all-out heist be loud only. Some of Payday 2's most intense and memorable heists were loud only, as it still is pretty insane that the only original loud only heist is... Not to be mentioning everything outside of the game, and layoffs galore, Almir leaving Starbreeze, the IP's reputation in the gutter, Payday 2 the subscription, random crossovers with The Division and PUBG, and the Steam player count never going beyond 1,000. The future and current state of Payday 3 is so damn questionable. I'm even surprised I've been able to talk about this much with how badly the game's doing. But being all negative just isn't me. I at least like to be somewhat positive. Unless I'm talking about sports. Like, yeah man, that shit's over, dog. As far as bad as things have been, I'm not saying that there isn't any hope. As Hail Mary or not, in November 2025, Payday 3 fully transitioned into a live service game with monthly updates and additions. This is actually a welcome change for me, as the videos with new general manager of live service, Paul, are very concise and give us a decent look into the future of Payday 3. As honestly, as much as we all like to rag on Payday 3 and Starbreeze, I at least have to commend them on not fully giving up on the game, especially in a post-Concord and High Guard world. How long will this last? I have no clue, but at least we have some stuff to look forward to, as the big thing teased in June 2026 was the addition of the Heat system, a new loud mechanic that basically allows you to push back a cop assault early by quickly and efficiently killing enough cops, offering a new interesting dynamic of choosing to either hard focus on objectives while the cops breathe down your neck, or to choose to go out of your way to get a breather to more easily do an objective. These additions are a great sign for the game's future. Starbreeze is still capable of cooking, but how much more time do they really have until the curtains start to close? As even for as neat as the June 2026 update was... Emotes? Really? I know Payday as a whole is very memey by nature, but this feels like the last thing they should be adding to the game with such glaring faults. Oh god, this shit's gonna cost real money in the future, isn't it? And as much of a good thing that is Starbreeze listening to the feedback of those who remain in the community, I do hope they don't fall into the cycle of trying too hard to appease everyone, that they end up appeasing no one by being too afraid to make or do any major changes in fear of angering the 20 or so Payday 3 fans who remain. And lastly, I feel like the only notable thing left to talk about is a brand new Payday game. Made by a different studio, Payday Aces High is an original VR only title that I will be covering once it's out. So make sure to drop by my Twitch channel whenever that comes out. Bro, if this game ends up being better than Payday 3, I swear to god. And that just about wraps up everything I wanted to talk about in regard to Year 2 and the first half of Year 3. I could talk about way more, but after that last project I worked on, I don't think I can stomach a video being longer than an hour for a good while. Let's just move on to the... So, here we are almost 3 years since Payday 3's launch. And to answer the question again, would I, the random soldier guy, recommend Payday 3 to people? Hold on, I have the right sound effect for it. Hold on, let me just get it real quick. Oh, here we go. Look, the game has improved since year 1, albeit very slowly, as over the course of these 2.5 years, for me, Payday 3 has progressed from like a 3 out of 10 game to like a 5.5, 6 out of 10 game. And most of that has been from me just really liking Payday 3 stealth. As, unless the game is heavily on sale, or like I said, you really like stealth in Payday, I still wouldn't recommend this game to your average gamer. This game somehow still needs a decent amount of time in the oven for me to recommend this game. And having just a bit more time to think about it, here are some of my personal top things I want for the game, where, if added, will finally get me to recommend Payday 3. 1. Obviously, ad pre-planning. Enough said. 2. Return to the main story. And when you do, make the scale of the heist larger and don't be afraid to make the loud heist visually interesting or memorable. Please. And 3. If Starbreeze is hard set on keeping Skills 2.0 the way it is, can we please get a mechanic somewhat close to resembling Payday 2's perk decks? I know that after the overskill weaponry work, it is kind of like that, but I want Starbreeze to lean more into it. Give us some passive buffs we can choose from that can synergize with our builds. Add some active buffs, have fun with it. Just anything to add more build variety in the game. And obviously, I can recommend a lot more than just 3 things. But as long as Payday 3 continues to push out decent and high quality updates to the game, a revival still isn't out of the question, as overall, despite how much Payday 3 has improved as a game, Starbreeze at this rate is still a few years away from achieving an actual good game. The game, at least to me, is fun and enjoyable, yes, but good? But we'll have to wait and see if Starbreeze can hopefully deliver, as hopefully next year, I'm not too late with my yearly wrap up like this video, as we slowly follow Starbreeze's attempts to make a good video game. Just please add Payday 2 pre-planning.